Hey there. I'm going to tell you a story today. So on Sunday, I went up to the mountains and I had three intentions in leaving the city. And one was to see the back range, which is above timberline, all in snow and how beautiful it is before the snow melts. And then I also wanted to see animals, wildlife in their own habitat because it just feels like life to me, just the expression of life, and it's a celebration for me to see them. And I also wanted to see or spend time with a brook or a stream, because water is my element. So as I was driving up there, I stopped at a convenience store just to get a soda. I was going to be gone for 5-6 hours, and I just wanted something. I had an energy bar with me and water, but I just wanted something a little bit more, a little bit of sugar in it. And so I got a soda and I stopped at this convenience store, and the woman that greeted me was so nice, and she just said, "Hi, how you doing? Groceries on this side, snacks and drinks on the other side." And so I bought a soda and I went up and talked to her and I said, "You've got quite a store here. This is a small town, and it's quite a ways between finding a grocery store in another area where you get more groceries." And they offered quite a bit there. And I said, "This is a great service to the community." And she said, "That's the first compliment I've received all day." And it was about 2 in the afternoon, maybe 2:30 when I saw her. And she says, "And I've got to be till 7. And I thought, how many times have I experienced that? I was a manager of a number of shops in my life, or just worked for shops even from the time I was in high school. And I've owned businesses where you just really want to know that people understand who you are and what it is you're doing so that you can be of greater service to them. And when they engage with you, it means that much more. And how can you have a conversation with someone? How can you welcome them into your store and into all the things you offer? And you'd like to have that engagement in return. So we talked for a little bit and about what it is they're doing there and how long they've been there, and what they're doing to improve the store itself. And as I was leaving, she said something more along the same line. And I just turned to her and I said, "I hope you understand that you matter." And she said, "Thank you." We all need to know that. We all need to understand that. And the thing that she didn't understand about me is her greeting me with a really genuine kindness, and her greeting me with a smile on her face and welcoming me into her store brightened my day, because I needed that day. I was needing to be in a better place than I was when I left the city. And that was why I was going to the mountains in the first place. So I left there and I went on up to where my destination was. And all along the way in this valley, which is called South Park, there were antelope right by the road. Beautiful, beautiful herd of antelope. Just strong and big and beautiful. Of course, in their natural habitat there in the valley, eating grasses and having their afternoon meal. Probably eat all day long. I don't know how they do it, but they were beautiful. And so that was like, yes. And just as I was about to reach the destination that I had in mind, I came across a herd of deer that were right by the side of the road. And so there was a truck in front of me, and I was on the other side of these deer, and we both just carefully went on past, and the deer went on their way, which I saw them later on as I was leaving that day. And then as I drove around the bend, I saw a herd of elk that were probably 40, 50 elk feeding. So everything on my checklist was about to come true. As I just came up to this place where I knew there was a stream, a mountain stream, a little mountain brook, and I just stayed there for an hour. So everything on that checklist, the things I intended to see that day, to be with that day, to kind of welcome in to my experience, happened. And it was just astounding. And as I walked up to the brook, and the water was running, and it was a lot of runoff from melted snow and that type of thing, because it's right up next to the mountains where this particular brook is. And I stood there, and right in front of me were about a dozen deer. And they were like 5 of them over on this side and 7 of them over on this side. And a couple of them were about 20 feet away. And I just stood there, and they're all just sitting there with those big ears of theirs, focused right on me, like right on there. And they're all focused on me. And I was like, they're probably wondering, why is she here? This is our territory. Why is she here? So I stayed really still, and I just stood there, and they figured that I wasn't going to leave, and they jumped away. Boing, 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 boing. It was just fun to watch them. But I felt a little bad because I had interrupted their meal and their space. They ran off into the pine trees that were far away. So I stayed there for about an hour. And whenever I'm in front of the water, when I'm ever with the water, if it's a brook or a river or an ocean or a lake, I just kind of be with the water. I watch the waters flow. I watch how it does, and I understand, what it does. It flows, and then it goes down to the next larger body of river, and then it goes to a larger body of river that ends up on our part of the world. It ends up in the Gulf of Mexico, and then ends up in the ocean. And then it does its thing at the ocean. It becomes evaporated into the air, becoming clouds yet again, and eventually becomes snow and rain and covering the mountains of where I am living. And then it melts off and becomes part of the brook and the stream and the river and the ocean yet again. So it's a metaphor for life for me, about how to flow, go with the flow, whatever those rocks or those brooks or that curve in the brook is, or whatever it is, how that mountain stream moves, how that ocean continues to flow, the ebb and the flow. However that is, how can I do that in a better way myself? So I listened to the gurgling of the water and the white water rushing through where it was a little more heavy of a stream coming over, more of a group of rocks and that kind of thing. And I looked out to the field that in front of me where the deer had been, and all of the grasses were golden. The green grasses are probably underneath, but the golden grasses lay on top because they're long golden grasses. And beyond that, there were just pine trees in the background, all in this dark green. And beyond that were the Sangre de Cristo Mountains, which appeared like a beautiful cobalt blue far in the distance. And I just sunk in and just anchored in to this space that I was really anticipating the entire time that I was there. And that was to be one with nature. And I call it coming back home to myself. I call it a number of things. Being one with nature, coming back home to myself, living in the place of here and now, in the complete presence of all there is. And I felt it, and it embodied it within me. So that's why I spend 5 or 6 hours driving somewhere, so I can spend an hour of time with nature, because there were no people around where I was. It was just nature in its natural way, and I just welcomed it in. And that peace came over me, that love came over me, because I believe all of these things come out of love itself, because that's the highest form of everything that there is. And peace is love, and joy is love, and I was feeling absolute joy seeing all these animals, and specifically those deer that were right in front of me there in that moment. But listening to the gurgling stream, and seeing the beautiful mountains in the background, and knowing right where I was this absolute elegance of grace. It was just perfection. And it just washed over me and cleared all the cobwebs away of the things that I was thinking about, all the things I have to do, and all of the ambitions that I have, and all of the different circumstances that might be seemingly in my way. Because when I come back to this place at my center, when I'm centered in nature, when I'm centered in what that is for me, then I feel like I can go about doing whatever I need to do in the best way that I know how. And so not only did I meet this woman who didn't even know that what she'd done for me was so elegant and so what it was I needed to start my day, and the kindness that she extended to me. And hopefully I extended some of that to her as well, and hopefully helped to brighten her life as well. But the deer and the mountain and the fields and the trees and the stream and all the animals, all of that nature became me. And life is good in that place, in that time. So the picture behind me, I call it the wave. It's a wave mandala. I just call it the wave. And they're all these waves that are interlinked. They're going in sunwise direction, clockwise. And they're all interlinked here at the center. And you can't really tell this, but this is kind of there's red tones in here, gold tones and white tones. They're all in little dots. And it's all interlinked, and it all works together. That's what this means in this graphic design of what water means to me. And around it has the sunlight right here. Just around it, slight sunlight within this kind of periwinkle blue in the background. And that day, as I was standing there, it was a cloudy day. Clouds were overhead, and it was a real gray day. But there were a couple times when the sun peeked through the clouds and beamed these beautiful golden rays out into that field, that golden field in front of me, and lit up the whole area for just a short time. And how beautiful it was. So go wherever you go. Shine yourself brightly. And know that who's standing in front of you is also doing the very best they can with what they have in that moment in time. And the shining light that you are, the kindness of your heart, the generosity of who you are, and just whatever it is that you can do to be of a genuine, authentic nature with them, then they too will take that and extend that elsewhere. That's what that woman did for me, and hopefully I did it for her. It's certainly what all the animals and the mountains and the fields and the valley and the beauty of everything that I saw there that day did for me. And the thing about that is when I do those kinds of things, then I remember it because I embody that. I embody that feeling of that deep peace, of that deep love, that tremendous joy. And it becomes me. Nature becomes me. And that's why I go to nature whenever I'm really needing to get really clear and just to anchor back in to what is true within my own sense of self. And there's other ways I do it as well. But nature always does it for me. Always. And so that was my purpose that day. And now I have in this memory that beautiful day, that experience that if someone else was with me that may not have experienced the very same thing, but it's what it experienced. It was my experience, is how I embodied it and what it meant to me. And I now have that within me, and add that all these other experiences that I've done something in a similar way. And joy becomes me. Love becomes me. Life becomes me. And then I can go out and extend the same thing to someone else in some way. Because I'm coming from the center of who I am. I'm anchored in what that is within me. And life is good. So as Grandma used to say, love you bunches. Bye for now.